Welcome to All Things Policy, a daily podcast by the Takshashila Institution. We are a bunch of policy nerds based in Bengaluru, and we like bringing fresh perspectives to Indian affairs and Indian perspectives to global affairs. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and join us for today's chat.
All right, here we are. Namaskara and welcome back to All Things Policy. I'm Sowmya Prabhakar, and today we are decoding something that's changing how we think, talk, and type: artificial intelligence in Indian languages. We often hear about models that speak English, but can they really understand India, its dialects, idioms, and emotions? I have with me Omshivaprakash, founding trustee of Servants of Knowledge, who's been working at the intersection of language technology, data, and community innovation. Together, we'll explore how society, government, and markets can make AI more inclusive, truly Indian, and maybe even a little bit multilingual in spirit. So, welcome to this All Things Policy episode, Om.
Namaskara, Soumya. So happy to be here.
Great. Yeah, we've interacted a lot in the context of language. So let's kind of jump into seeing how compromised we are as a country in thinking about all the languages that we host, and also look at how the Samaj Sarkar Bazaar is playing into it. So we speak many languages in India, but looks like tech speaks mostly English. So how does this imbalance show up like in our daily digital lives?
Right. So text speaks English, but at the same time, we try to make computers learn what we are even speaking in our minds. Right. So we all started blogging since 2000, and we try to understand the tech from the early days of internet and try to tell others and bring them to the speed of the digital era. Right. So when we are in the AI era, the computers are really like they're able to understand what is being spoken around our devices, digital devices. Okay, so we have a saying in Kannada, even ಗೋಡೆಗಳಿಗೂ ಕಿವಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. So now all our devices have ears too, and they keep listening to us. And you don't know when the Alexa or Google or Siri actually starts playing what we have in our mind just by hearing few of our words. Right? The
Yes.
tech is not really speaking only the English, but it is learning other languages too at a faster pace. But there is some kind of a gap between what we speak as Kannadigas or people from Tamil Nadu or Telugu and stuff like that. And it is still a long way to go for tech to really speak the Indian languages. That's what I feel, at least.
Okay. Yeah, it is spooky, right? Like you said, even the walls can hear you. And
Yes.
half the times we witness it on the phone. You see, you were having some conversation and it's already prompting you on the phone that, hey, you may want to look at this, right? So
Right.
that's true. But how do we ensure in this context that the community driven data sets that reflect, right, not just words, but the cultural nuances behind them? How does that work?
Yes. See, most of the Indian knowledge is still not in digital format. There is a huge data scarce, and the other gap is the oral history that we have and the lingo that we actually use while we're really speaking to people, to friends, right? The lingo that we actually bring in is totally different than what is written in our textbooks and what is in most of our novels and other literary works actually try to bring in and bridge that particular gap, but
Right.
we still don't have most of that data converted into a format that can be read by any of the tech that we have today. Right, that's where Servants of Knowledge has been trying to work, and even my other initiatives like Sanchaya and Sanchaya has been trying to do. We are trying to capture the essence of languages through audio visual as well as textual digital data formats, right?
Okay.
And this data is required in the latest available formats and standards. That's what we are actually missing out. So we had a huge effort of creating digital corpora through various initiatives, which is public, private, government, and various other things. But we really did not actually like formalize on how many of these things actually worked from very beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had Digital Library of India, then we actually lost it, and then the data didn't go anywhere. We
Yeah.
kept actually working in silos in for various different projects. So there is no public data which is available which can give the consolidated knowledge on this language diaspora that we have,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the gap that we need to actually like fill in to start with.
Yeah. So, does this mean that the way we are training these language models, rather than just using people in the tech atmosphere to kind of ensure we build in with the community, is that even feasible, or that seems very ambitious, Om?
It is not very ambitious because people are very ambitious to see their language in the tech today. They
Hmm.
have that need in their mind.
Yeah.
They definitely want to see it. In very early days of FOSS movement, right? We all try to understand how we can make computers understand how we type our languages, right? We built very early versions of the Kannada keyboard and stuff like that, and we try to understand what makes it easier for us to type in our language. And in later days we started seeing why we internet is not able to find our language text, why we are not seeing something in Google search, right?
Yeah.
And we realize that we are not typing enough in Unicode, we are not
Yeah.
following the standards that the word is actually following, right?
Hmm.
And slowly we started actually moving towards educating people to use Unicode. But this did not actually happen beyond the community level. It actually happened with the people who were around internet
Yeah.
situation, right? We spoke to each other. We were able to start communicating in our language, even on the blogs and other stuff. People started becoming comfortable to use the Kanglish, right? Kannada plus English kind of a communication, because they knew how to type in English but not use the tools that were required for feeding in our language, right? So we actually came from that era, and slowly things started changing when Android phones and iPhones, etc., started allowing us to type in our own respective languages, and the digital gap started coming down. Things started changing,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? I wanted to bring in the community part of it, right? So now most of the AI solutions that we see on our devices are being created by corporates directly.
Yeah.
What Google actually comes out with their big tech announcements for AI, or what Apple is actually doing with AI, we actually start seeing things coming from the top down approach. If they support Kannada, we actually get Kannada. If they support Hindi, we actually get the AI models that they have actually trained their systems on. But how far the community is actually making any effort to bring in changes there, right? In earlier days, we used to tell people that as consumers, we have the right to demand what we need in the software and hardware that we are purchasing. But are we talking in the same terms when it comes to AI and the tech that is
Hmm.
actually being imposed on us? Right? I don't say it is imposed. They're actually selling it, selling things that the commodity that they're actually like developing is what is being sold to us. But are we in a position to ask how these devices are actually talking to me in my language? It is very important today to understand that the mother tongue influence that we have in the way we actually think about the tech or our lives, food, culture, literature, and so on. It has
Yeah.
so much of influence from my mother tongue, right? I think in my language first and then translate it back to English, and then I speak the language of the tech today,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So are these corporates are listening to us? So how far they can actually do in case the language community which speaks a specific language is given preference or not, right?
Hmm.
So even today, we don't have ebooks in Canada on Amazon Kindle, but Amazon has been doing huge impact by providing hardware, software, and so on for so many different languages. But do we see Canada somewhere, or do we see something similar for other marginalized languages in India? We don't actually see such things, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Even in India, when it comes to actually like processing the data that the community is actually creating. For example, from the initiative of Science Technology, we actually digitized more than 25 30,000 Kannada books, and similarly we have digitized a lot of other language books. And these books still don't have some of the best fonts that we can actually use for OCR,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And we don't have the data sets which can actually understand the language. We don't have the digital data set which can be used for building spell checkers or grammar checkers and so on, because none of the data required for the core development of AI models in the open license, we still don't have it.
Hmm, hmm,
Yeah.
hmm.
So this is where we need to go back and reflect what we have for our languages and what we really need to do as a community, as the government, or as the corporates who are working on building tech for people in respective languages. We can
Yeah.
easily say that we cover the world and we actually like provide tech for any language for that matter. But
Hmm,
how far we are really going, right?
hmm.
Some of the languages we keep hearing that the languages are dying faster,
Yeah.
right? And we hear that India is no different in that sense, right? In North India, people speak Hindi, but they forget their mother tongue is totally different. They don't even remember how they used to actually speak those languages in this current generation, because Gen Z has gone to a different level altogether, right? We don't speak our languages, we don't speak the mother tongue to the tech,
Hmm, hmm,
right? So there is a gap that is actually being created through the infusion of language tech
hmm,
via AI.
hmm,
What I
hmm.
feel. You are
Yeah.
actually making it easier for us to speak our languages. You are actually using the possible translation models that you have and trying to understand what we are actually trying to make out of with the tech. But at the same time, it is not really covering everything that we have on the earth.
Hmm, hmm.
And somewhere that might also result in losing many more languages if you don't really look into it.
True, true that. So, given that we're in this early phase, then with languages especially, like you said, none of us are probably investing enough in this effort. Even the bias component, right? How do we think of bias, not just in terms of gender, but say regional or linguistic bias when AI is learning from the internet? Because we're in the early phase, should we be more aware and cautious about it, or is it something that should be whenever we are engaging with AI on content, especially, is there something that we need to watch out for?
Yes, we always speak of the misinformation in the internet era, right? So, and I even read very interesting tweets about LLMs themselves getting confused with what they're actually even reading, right? The bias. Because they actually have more false information than the original information. When it comes to digitizing any text, okay, I actually got into digitizing literature for Kannada mainly because I saw that we don't really have even the index of work that has been created in my language to start with. Then later, why we need it, right? We need it for validating what we are actually hearing, what we are reading, and what we are trying to talk back, or what we really want to contribute back to the language. Okay, those are the reasons why we
Yeah.
actually start looking into digital data. If I have a first, we learn these kind of stuff from our wiki community engagements, wherein we look for the sources, right? In the digital era, it has become so difficult for me to tell how people are even actually giving me the sources for the information that is being shared. If I
Hmm.
take the news media today, each and everybody talks about certain things, but we don't know from where they're even getting that information from. If it
Yeah.
is a literary work, I can actually go back, refer to the book, or refer
Hmm.
to the blog which actually mentions that,
Hmm.
and then actually find that book in the stall or in a library and say that, okay, fine, I am validating that, saying that, okay, this specific author said something and it is correct, right?
Hmm.
At the same time, various things that AI is actually feeding today, we can't even actually validate most of these things. It is not really actually happening, especially for Indian languages.
Yeah.
Okay, when
Okay.
it comes to Canada, how this AI is even actually reading about the sentiments that people have with respect to a cultural activity or the art form or things like that. We don't have the data upon all these blogs. Many of the blogs are being written the way we actually like have been hearing about such things from others.
Yeah.
If there is a subject matter expert who is blogging, possibly you actually have lot of citations and references given.
Yeah.
Right? Wiki also has a limitation. Most of the Wikipedia articles that we actually see don't have enough references, especially in Indian languages. And people are tempted to create Wikipedia pages without even providing citations even today. So we tried so much to go and train youngsters in their colleges, schools, and universities, and tell them the importance of that. But today we don't have so much of time and energy to inculcate that habit, because they all now today have a tool like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and so many other things. Any homework that you actually give, it actually comes out from these tools.
Yes.
But are they really going back to the sources and finding the core?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Then the truth.
Yes.
And when people come and talk to us about Gandhi and other things, when we actually like do the digitization and stuff like that in servants of knowledge, we actually keep saying, do you know who actually said, be the change you wish to see? Right? Everyone says Gandhi, but nobody even verified that it has not been said by Gandhi. It is not never documented in any of the completed works of Gandhi at all. Louis Fisher actually mentioned it in his book on Gandhi. So how many people go back and verify this? Even if I'm telling this, okay, if I'm a AI avatar who's not the real Om, who is actually speaking on this podcast, right? How do you verify it? Right? You actually have to go back, find that particular source. So there is a huge bias with respect to Indian language content. And
Yes.
if we are really using AI for doing our research and the delivery of education or whatever for that matter, it needs to be vetted heavily on the sources that we can trust. Okay,
Yeah.
and there is a lack of such thing. One, as you said, we have the linguistic diversity within Kannada itself. We have Mangalore Kannada, Mysore Kannada, and Dharwad Kannada, and so many other things. Right? We don't have the word corpus which is available in open license, which can be used for training our models openly and make it or use it on top of it to validate the test. This particular word really means this in so
Yeah.
and so, and it can also have so and so meanings. How much of such data that we really have? So we need to
Yeah.
think about it. Yes.
Yeah. So let's just make a segue into the government's role, right? What's the government's role in shaping Indian language AI ecosystem? Like, what should they be doing, and even in the context of making data available, right, to kind of arrive at some economically viable solutions, even if people are trying to create businesses around AI, especially in the linguistic side. So, what do you think about it?
So what I would think is, see, the government is not a software industry, right? Or
Yeah.
it's not someone who can actually like build AI tech for us. It can only like facilitate and make a concentrated, high level impact to help us build what we need for tech, right? So to start with, it actually has to make the data available for public good under open license. And there is huge amount of data and archives available out there in the hands of government. For example, you have state archives, right? You have codes wherein, and you have gadgets and textbooks, and your Doordarshan, All India Radio, and so many other things. But how much of this data is really available for us in open license? Right, government does have open data policy, but how much it is actually even following, right? So that actually has to come out, because once it actually comes out in open licenses like Creative Commons license, CC by 4.0 or something like that, that can actually make an impact, right? And community and the other initiatives, including the corporates who are creating pipelines for building large language models, etc., can make use of this in a better way, right? And government should actually start offering grants. I think it might be doing many of these things already under Startup India and other initiatives, but offering large GPU grants for people, not only for corporates, but also for the communities such as ours, right? So should actually offer such grants so that we can actually make an impact by training models, which is again back on the open data model. So that needs to be done. And as India has so many of these languages and dialects and so on,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
need some kind of a national benchmarking, right? So that is very much required. So, for example, if you want to institutionalize the Kannada related AI thing, so we need to actually have a very good reading comprehension, dialogue safety, and then we need code switching, and we have a lot of OCR noise from the earlier era. So if you actually go back to 1940s, 50s, and even 1800s, we have the printed material available in multiple language characters. We have Telugu mixed with Kannada, if you
Yeah.
really observe, right? Because that is what used to happen when they used to print in Ballari. So they used to actually have shortage of the pins, what do you call it, as the achu, what we used to use for printing Kannada books. If they were short of certain characters, they used to pick it from Telugu and they used to actually like print the book, right? So all such things needs to be taken care. When it comes to dialects, as we just spoke, we need different dialects of Kannada to be made available under all this. So this type of benchmarking needs to be created, and this needs to be released for public on a regular basis. Okay, there has to be a periodicity for this. It is not. It should not be a 5 year plan, and we actually try to do something after something, right? So we have classical Kannada status, but it is not really making any good because you don't see anything actually happening around the language tech matter. And then I don't know the current AI contracts and other things that are actually being made for the Indian languages with the larger companies. But if there is any such standard practices for procurement, for government activity, etc., that also needs to be made available for public. Okay, when it comes to acquiring software and tools for government itself, right? How much they're really thinking in terms of adopting Kannada in those tools. Okay, so we have BMTC, we have e-governance department, and so
Yeah.
on. But are they really thinking about AI to a bigger extent to use the tech for governance? Right. So that also needs to be checked. And we have a challenge with respect to accessibility here. So when it comes to accessibility, we actually have to talk about text to speech, speech to text, and UI UX aspects of the tools that are being used in the government agencies. Many of them don't really understand the complexity involved in the tools that are being used in these places, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So accessibility makes a lot of difference, and that is where the AI can actually play a big role. So while procuring things, that should be open, and it should actually involve a open Gen AI policy in case it actually involves AI based solutions, right? And when it comes to the pipelining for education and jobs, right?
Yeah.
So you actually like fund the initiatives which actually involves cooperation for transportation, transliteration, and
Yeah.
OCR correction, and this type of things. You actually build this cooperation between the corporates and the other entities who are actually involved
Right. Yeah.
in offering the solutions, right? We for when it comes to education, we actually build the textbooks, but how far we're actually going and actually matching that with the NEP policy,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And are we really like using the tech for building these texts? Are we ensuring that the other language people who are coming here and trying to learn our language, are they really able to use the transliteration tools as much
Yeah.
as possible to be
Yeah.
able to speak in local languages? We
Yeah.
had a lot of issues with respect to Kannada, Hindi, language policy, and other stuff, right? So this is where you can actually bridge the gap,
Yeah.
right? So you actually have to build this co-op between the organizations, between the entities, between the institutions
Yeah.
to create tools. And I think in this place is where you can actually like bring the National Translation Mission or AI for Bharat and various other people
Yeah.
to make an
Hmm.
impact. And we have diverse domains
Hmm.
where AI is going to actually make an impact, and already it is actually making an impact, right? It can be agriculture, it can be health, it can be education. We actually saw how people actually made use of tools during COVID, right? They were
Yeah.
able to build supporting tool for themselves, and they were smart enough to understand that the people really need these tools in their respective languages, right?
Yeah.
The community was able to think beyond what government can actually think for itself, for providing supporting hand. So this is where creating domain pilots actually makes sense,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So whether it is justice, agriculture, or textbook education, as I said already, so open index tags with these
Hmm.
type of standards and policies, and also some kind of a way to audit and see that we are actually making an impact from the language point of view. So these things would actually help from the government point of
Yeah.
standpoint. Yes.
Absolutely. I think, like you already emphasized, right, the partnership between, say, tech firms, research institutions, and communities is also going to make it economically viable.
Yes.
Right? It's not just the partnership conversation, but it's going to be such that it will incentivize every player there, so that everybody sees merit in it. And is there a good example already, at least in the language side of things, who's doing much better than the rest? Is there something that's happening in any language at all that sets a little bit of a better standard for us to kind of mirror it, or even look and get inspired?
So I haven't actually like paid much attention towards it because AI is still in the back burner for me.
Okay.
So I'm not really like worried too much about who's actually doing too good, too bad, and stuff like that. Plus, we are majorly worried about preserving what is already available with us in our libraries and institutions. So
Mhm.
that's where we are actually working on as of now.
Yeah.
But we are learning as a community. We are actually learning what we can actually do better. So
Mm,
Wikidata, from that matter,
mm,
has been doing a large-scale collaboration between languages and creating data that can be used. It has become a greater public good today,
mm,
right? So Wikidata is one very major example which you can actually look at when we say
mm,
we are actually building some greater data for
mm.
training AI and stuff like that. So something like that. I would like each and every language to think big on those lines and build something which can be used by the community and people. So today Gen Z can actually use this data and do wonders for that matter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I can only give such large scale examples which we see, and we are using the best standards for licensing and
Yeah.
the data and accessibility and other stuff. Yeah, I think I'll stop there with that.
Great, but I'm certainly hopeful that languages are here to stay. It has stayed here for many decades and centuries, so it's meant to stay. I think it's for all of us to think how to leverage it at its best. Any closing thoughts? Anything that we didn't probably talk about, and you would like to share? Otherwise, we will close the episode.
Yes, so to grow our language, especially when I think about such things, I think about Kannada to start with, right? So, so we need to grow the corpora, data corpora of any Indian languages to a greater extent by digitizing newspapers, magazines, books, especially in collaboration with individuals to start with, the publishers. The publishers even include government, right? So they are the largest publishers of data, okay, whether it is literary or judicial or anything else. It actually like builds something great. So such collaborations are very much required here. And then we need to create a lot of parallel corpus. So community at large has been building a lot of new efforts. We actually are seeing people understanding the need for translating literature, right? We are seeing new initiatives wherein people are helping each and every language translate their works to each other. That is
Yeah.
actually always already happening, and it's a very great way to create parallel corpus for our languages. This should actually keep growing. And then we need to actually like contribute to a lot of open benchmarks. So whatever benchmarks that are available out there for creating the dialogues, creating the text to speech or speech to text, this should not actually happen in silos. So I feel that many of the language tech projects actually always happen in silos in some institution or some organization and things like that, and does not really like create the bridge between the people who really end up using. So I was just seeing the Aether's new ad which says, okay, now we speak Kannada for November 1st. Yes, it's very great to see that happening, but we saw that when our Android phones started speaking, talking, and allowing us to type in our own languages, right?
Yeah.
So that type of thing should actually increase. And then a lot of data sprint should actually happen with the community, and that
Yeah.
data should be always be made available for public forever for free in
Yeah.
under open licenses. So that's what we actually started doing with Sanchi. We started creating the documentation of oral history, culture, and literature. So that should actually increase for each and every language and dialect that we have. We really lack such things. Various institutions like Kannada University, etc., have done a lot of work, and only now they are actually thinking and understanding why opening up the data to public makes sense. Opening up their research to public makes sense. Right now, they're slowly like learning these things, but this should actually like continue. Then yeah, I think we need to fine tune many of these things. We actually say we create rigs to build things for hardware and software and things like that. So we need more models that the community at large can actually use, the society can actually use at large. And I think I covered most of the points that I had in my mind to start
Okay.
with.
Great. Oh,
And yeah, we should be able to build open apps and
mm,
tools for our
mm.
languages. So now we have the power of AI, so we can build much larger than that and connect to various other languages, because our literature has been translated already to various different languages. We don't know where the impact is actually happening. So the creating links between the history, literature, culture, society beyond the borders is what is possible with the power of AI and other latest tech that we are seeing.
Yeah.
Hope our Gen Z actually gets back into that mode and talks Indian languages, talks more Kannada, and we get to continue to hear our languages in much larger spaces.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. In that good spirit, one takeaway that I certainly have is making AI work for India isn't just a technical one, right? It's more like a social one. And maybe our Samaj, Sarkar, and Bazaar must come together to build data that's open, inclusive, and speaks our languages and not just hyper focused on English. And thanks, Om, for this fascinating conversation. And to our listeners, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep tuning into All Things Policy. I'm Sowmya Prabhakar. Until next time, stay curious and stay multilingual. That's what I have to say. And in that good spirit of the linguistics that we host in this massive country, I hope all of us take enough responsibility to keep it alive. I think that way we are accountable, right, for the future generations to come. So, on that note, thank you so much, Om, once again. So I'll just stop the podcast. Just wait till it saves. Just a minute.
If you liked our show, dive into Takshashila's research on technology, strategy, and economic affairs. Check us out at our Twitter handle at Takshashila INST or our website takshashila.org.in.